Everyone, and welcome to Perth County Council this 5th day of September. I'd like to call our meeting to order. Everyone can please bow their head for a moment of reflection. Thank you. Read our land acknowledgements. Acknowledge that Perth County is situated on the traditional land of the Aninashabay, who have a long-standing with the land and water throughout the region. We honor and respect the history, languages, and culture of the diverse Indigenous, Metis, and Inuit people who call this territory home. As a county, we have a responsibility for reconciliation and the continued stewardship of the land on which we live and work. If you have pecuniary interest, you can disclose that now or as the meeting goes along. We have consent agenda. Oh, sorry, confirm the agenda. First of all, we have a motion that the September 5, 2024 agenda be approved. Moved by Councillor McDermott, second by Councillor Orr. All in favor? Carried. Okay, now we'll go to consent agenda. There are 38 items on our consent agenda. Is there any item anyone has questions with or would like pulled? Done separately. Councillor Kassenberg.
Good morning, Ward Negus. Thank you. I am interested in the letter that is in item 6.40 and would like to make a request about that one.
Okay, we will pull that one. Any other one?
Thanks, Ward Negus, through you. I'd like to pull 6.26 so that this is Municipality of Wawa support for the Ontario Forest Industries Association. I'd like to pull that so that Perth County can endorse support for that, please.
Okay, anything else? No, okay, with a motion that council receives consent agenda items 6.1 to 6.40 with the exceptions of 6.26 and 6.40, which will be dealt separately, and approves the August 1, 2024 council minutes. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, second by Deputy Warden Pelham. All in favor? Carried. Okay, Councillor Kassenberg, you can go first.
Thank you, Ward Negus. Yes, I think the letter from Whitewater Region, I believe is the name, was interesting to me because it made a call to the provincial government asking for allocation of funding for the establishment of a mental health, addiction, and residential drug treatment facility, of course, in Renfrew County, where this region is located. I'm wondering if we might ask staff to research the original letter from the city of Pembroke and bring forward a resolution similar to the Pembroke resolution for our consideration at the future council meeting regarding a same request, a request to the province to establish a mental health, addiction, and residential drug treatment facility in Perth County.
Okay, so are you moving that?
I'd like to so move, yeah.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Duncan? Any comments, questions? You want to read that, Tyler? Or are you doing it?
Yeah, so the council directs staff to bring forward a resolution similar to the city of Pembroke, calling upon the province to allocate funding specifically for establishment of a mental health, addiction, and residential drug treatment facility serving Perth County.
Okay, all in favor? Carried. Okay, and Councillor Tronkowski?
Thanks, Warden, through you. So consent agenda item 6.26, the corporation of the Municipality of Wawa at July 23rd meeting resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Wawa does hereby receive and support the correspondence dated June 19th, 2024 from the Ontario Forest Industries Association and urges the Ontario government support all measures targeting the immediate challenges Ontario forest sector faces. I think their latest challenge is another round of tariffs from the United States. So I guess forestry to Northern Ontario is similar to the agriculture situation in Southern Ontario. So I thought it would be appropriate for Perth County to support our friends in the north. Without a strong Ontario forest industry, then they cannot contribute to the housing construction that we need and other construction we need in Southern Ontario.
Okay, so you're moving that?
Yes, I am.
And do we have a seconder? Councillor Orr? You have,
So the council sent a letter of support to the municipality of Wawa regarding the Ontario Forestry Industries Association and urges the Ontario government to support all measures targeting the immediate challenges of the Ontario forest sector.
okay,
Yep.
all those in favor? Carried. Okay, moving on our agenda, we have no public meetings, public hearings, or delegations, so we're going to move right to staff reports. First staff report is from the CIO, the pregnancy and maternity leave policy. So Laurie, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Through the Warden Council, this is a housekeeping policy. It is required by the Municipal Act. It's rooted back to the fact that the Act declares a council member seat vacant if that person is absent for 3 successive months without council's authorization. And the province recognizes that these types of leaves should not, they should be exceptions, so that the individuals do not have to seek that authorization from council, and therefore the mandatory requirement for the policy. The draft meets the requirement of the Act. It defines the procedure for declaring that leave and the related administrative processes. So if that leave was to be taken in future years, the individual would meet with staff, they would go through and say, this is what I still want to participate in, this is how long my leave would be, these are my intentions. And we have an orderly process for doing that. And that section 259 authorizes it for up to 20 consecutive leaves. So the report is before you. Have any questions? But this does address a gap that we have in our policy framework.
Okay, questions of the report? I have one question. So maternity leave, if the person is taking a maternity leave, they still get paid. Does the person who replaces them get paid as well then?
So through the warden, when you have, for paternity leave, yes, for this section of the Act, they would be paid, and our policy reflects that. And if council would have the option of, if there's committee appointments, they would have the option to be able to say, can you take over their committee appointments for the next 2 months, 3 months? That would be meeting pay, and that particular individual, if they're attending for them, they would. There is another section of the Act that speaks to alternates, and alternates would be separate from this particular policy. There's another piece in the legislation that provides the local municipalities to be able to designate one alternate for the term of council to replace any sort of leave that would be exceeding 1 month at the upper tier. And then that particular individual, it's my understanding that council would have in their policy, you'd have to have a policy for that, how you're treating those. You would decide then whether or not they would be compensated, but generally it would make sense to compensate them. The local municipalities have not installed any alternates in our 2-tier system. So if that was to happen in future, I think this one came about because one, it's easier for people to attend council, and because we have Zoom, so those types of leaves. But if you have an individual who is off on medical leave and just simply not able to come to council in any fashion, then council would want that representation for their local municipality at the table. And it would make sense to compensate them for that.
Okay. Councillor McKenzie?
Just further to Laurie's explanation, and the question I have is with the, if your representative for health reasons cannot make it, it used to be that you had to miss 3 meetings before you could appoint an alternate. That's still the case, is it?
Through the warden, the legislation indicates if the county council person is going to be away for 1 month, the threshold is now 1 month.
Okay,
So with medical leave, sometimes you will be, speaking personally, they'll be able to say you're out of business for 4 months, or 6 months, or 2 months. But it all starts at the local level. So if the local municipalities decide that they need to appoint somebody, you cannot have an alternate for an alternate. And therefore, we try and avoid the word alternate on some of our policies because it means this under the other piece of legislation under that section. But threshold 1 month.
okay, all right. So, yeah, that was my question. So if, for health reasons or whatever, a member's going to be away, you have to wait a month before you can appoint somebody else to take their place. So that's good, okay.
Go ahead.
Through the warden, I don't think you have to wait a month. You could do the appointment, but I don't think it would kick in. So you could actually set those appointments at the local level as soon as council comes on board, but the person has to be away for a month before the person is able to come up and take that seat and vote.
That's probably the same thing. We
Yeah.
ran into a situation where, for health reasons, the second member from West Perth was unable to attend because of health reasons. And we, for whatever reason, we waited for 3 council meetings before we could appoint him or her to come. And so I was just clarifying, because it's very similar, but they're different. But I just, not that I'm planning on going away for, but just for knowledge, you know?
Councillor Orr?
I just want to clarify, but today we're talking about the pregnancy and paternity
Yes.
leave,
Yes.
right?
Not alternate.
No, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, any other questions? If not, then we have a motion that council receives report titled Pregnancy and Paternity Leave Policy Council, and that council approves the pregnancy and paternity leave policy, council effective September 5, 2024. Moved by Councillor Aitchison, second by Councillor McDermott. All in favor? Carried. Okay, and our next report is the road rationalization committee. Lori?
Thank you. The next report, of course, is housekeeping as well. And this one, council had appointed the heads of council of the 4 local municipalities. That was the intention for this particular committee, that the heads of the 4 locals would be on this particular committee. And then what we should have done at the time, now that we're thinking about it, is also said a deputy head could sub in for them. And so just the minor change to the appointment. And the reason why we want you to appoint the deputy mayors, it's not to double the composition of the committee, it's to be able to say, if I can't have a head at this particular committee, then the deputy from that local municipality, who also sits on the county, can sub in, and they would be able to vote on it. This is a very important committee, so we want to make sure we maintain representation from each of the 4 municipalities. If for a reason you had a situation on a meeting where the head and the deputy head could not participate from that local municipality, we would simply reschedule that meeting. So it's housekeeping.
Okay, any questions of the report? If not, then we have a motion that council receives the Road Rationalization Committee bylaw amendment report, and that council approves the amendment to the Road Rationalization Committee bylaw 3980-2024 to reflect the appointment of heads or deputy heads. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, second by Councillor Smith. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, thanks, Lori. And we're moving to economic development and tourism, and with us this morning, we have Clara and Justin, I believe, so come up to the table. Good morning and welcome.
It's okay. Good morning.
And the floor is yours.
Excellent. Great. So thank you through the word, and happy to be here to present our Q3 economic development, tourism, and transportation update for County Council. So I'll start with some economic development updates, pass it over to Clara for some tourism updates, and then finish off with the PC Connect update. So in terms of our economic development, we had a very busy summer of business tours in our business retention and expansion program. We were able to attend tours at DNS Downham, Between the Lines, LTI, and Feeney Design Build. So a great variety of businesses, industries, sizes of business, and obviously there was lots of discussion about their challenges, their opportunities, and how they see themselves growing here in Perth County. So again, an opportunity to kind of touch on a variety of sectors from agriculture, manufacturing, and one of the things I thought I'd just highlight is one of the most interesting things we learned from the tours in terms of meeting with home builders. So we met with Feeney Design Build, had a tour of his one of his developments in West Perth, and a very interesting stat that he put forward is, there's over 100 people who, while the home building business itself is kind of small, it's a small team that he has there. There's over 100 different people and contractors that, touch a house from start to finish, from engineers, architects to summer students who stack bricks and clean windows. So the impact of that industry was really important to emphasize. So, we look forward to another tour next week with Gettler's Dublin and West Perth. So if you haven't registered and you're still interested, please do so. Happy to have you. And in terms of the videos from those tours, we've rolled out a couple of them and have a few more that we'll be rolling out in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned for those. Also in terms of our, back a slide. I just want to touch briefly on our business features. So this is a program that we've developed to add an outcome from the 2023 BRNE survey. Businesses wanted to see some more marketing support as one of the top priorities. So these features are being launched across our website, social media, and really just an opportunity to give a snapshot of local businesses across Perth County. And then finally, I'll just touch our business directory, thanks to some extra resources we had this summer. We're able to do a very overdue update to our business directory, and really essential part of communicating with businesses, make sure we have accurate information on who's here and how to reach them. So that was a check mark we really wanted to check off this summer. We're successful in that. Slide, please. I won't spend too much time on people in workforce, just to highlight a couple of events that we were part of: the iFarm Community Barbecue earlier this summer, as well as the Employer Educator Roundtable back in June. We continue to support businesses with their hiring needs, offering partnerships at job fairs and things like that, and training, as mentioned, and our workforce attraction and retention employer toolkit continues to see some growth. So next slide, please. And I'll pass things over to Clara to talk about tourism.
Awesome. Good morning. Thanks, Justin. So over the course of the summer, we've continued to market Perth County as a top tourism destination in Ontario. As you'll see, we advertised in the front cover of the En Route Summer Fun Guide, which is available in all en routes across Ontario throughout the summer. We distributed over 44,000 Perth County tourism brochures to local households and hotspots, and over 1,000 farm gate maps and 600 cycle maps throughout the county. Since May, we've completed over 115 unique business visits to Perth County tourism businesses for signage and material distribution and marketing support, and featured over 68 of those businesses in promotional social content. Both our page visits and our social reach have increased, resulting in over 500 new organic social media followers to our channels. In partnership with RTO4, Perth County Tourism is undertaking our first economic impact and visitor analysis project. This is aimed at collecting Perth County specific visitation data to establish a baseline for informed decision-making and sustainable development. The goal of this study is to provide a comprehensive understanding of the economic contribution of tourism to Perth County, including employment generation, revenue generation, and overall economic multiplier effect. We're excited to be launching our 16th signature experience this week as part of the Discover More Adventures experiential tourism program. Pick Your Own at Apple Bottom Orchards in North Perth is an agritourism-focused experience that fosters a connection between our visitors and the rich farming heritage that defines Perth County. I'll just play a quick promotional video for you now. Thank you, Rachel.
Hey everybody, welcome to Apple Bottom Orchards. You can grab a basket and get picking.
Happy picking!
Our Discover More flavor program continues to grow with over 90 participating farm gates and 13 sweet stops along the Bakery Trail, which is a favorite among visitors to the region. We're continuing to develop our promotional materials for this program with a new print map scheduled for the spring. And we've made updates to the digital map as well, adding 2 additional filters which allow users to search by municipality and product type for a better shopping experience. Finally, we're excited to share that our Shareworthy Moments initiative, which is an addition to our Discover More Adventures program, will be kicking off in the coming weeks. The pilot project offers local tourism businesses and destinations the opportunity to implement shareable moments at their locations, which refers to experiences or attractions that are visually appealing, emotionally engaging, or culturally significant. Back to you, Justin.
Great. And just to wrap up with the PC Connect update. So during this Q3, we did launch a new campaign, a Hop On Board campaign targeting folks, highlighting the affordability of PC Connect at a $6 ride to get to places of interest. So that was a very successful social media campaign that we launched. We continue to roll out our videos of the People of PC Connect series. These highlight the various uses that people are using to use PC Connect, whether it be for work, for education, for social services and other activities. So this is not only just highlights the importance of PC Connect, but also is important in our advocacy for continuing funding from the province to showcase the impact of the service on our local riders. And then just some ridership numbers here. As you can see, our ridership over the summer was quite strong. So we had our strongest month in May, 767 rides, and another strong month in July, 747 rides. 2 of our highest ridership months to date happened in the last quarter. And I just got the numbers for August, and they also show a positive increase. So I think around 739 riders in August. So continue to see some growth of the service, and our rides to date again is just over almost 15,000 rides to date. And compared to the same period last year, you can see that the service continues to grow and generate riders, through our advertising, through some word of mouth, and also through some active engagement with employers and social and other organizations throughout the community who can benefit from the service. So we do have a steering committee meeting coming up on September 19th, so in a couple of weeks, where we will talk a bit more about sustainability of the service, given kind of the March 31st deadline for the community transportation grant funding. So we'll definitely be back to council shortly after that with some more recommendations that come from that committee. I think that is it for us, and happy to respond to any questions.
Okay, thank you. Comments or questions from council? Councillor Jankowski.
Thanks, Ward Negus, through you. I just want to offer once again thanks on behalf of West Perth to Perth County Economic Development for their support of the educator employer roundtable that we had in June. It was a very fruitful afternoon of discussion and sharing information. And just another comment, just pleased to see, I sit at home and wonder where your group's going to come up with fresh new ideas, or just when I think you've run out of fresh new ideas, you keep coming up with more. So that's very encouraging, and thank you for your dedication.
Okay, anyone else? Just to build on what Councillor Jankowski, yes, I think it's great that you can pivot and go from one to the next when you do keep coming up with these ideas, and you don't have to keep bringing it back to council. That's what I like the best. You just keep going, and we give you a budget and you do it. So you cover a lot of ground. We can't thank you enough for all you do. So without further ado, we'll move to our motion, and that council receives the Economic Development, Tourism and Transportation Board 3 update September 2024 report for information. Moved by Councillor Jankowski and Councillor McDermott. All in favor? Carried. Thanks again. Enjoy the rest of your day. Okay, we're going to move now to corporate services, and the first item is our forestry inspector report, and Tyler's going to do that. So Tyler, the floor is yours.
Perfect. So through the warden before council is the July 2024 forestry inspector's report prepared by Marvin Smith, the Perth County Forestry Inspector. In the month of July, Marvin completed 5 inspections in response to the submission of a notice of intent and 1 inspection in response to a request from a landowner. If there's any questions, concerns, or inquiries, I'd be happy to take those now.
Okay. Questions or comments on the report? Seeing none, we have a motion that council receives the July 2024 Forestry Inspector's Report for information. Moved by Deputy Warden Kellum, second by Councillor Aitchison. All in favor? Carried. Okay, the next one is 2025 council meeting schedule. Tyler?
Perfect, thank you. So through the warden, for council is the 2025 council meeting schedule report. This is an annual report that we compile and put together for council based off our procedure bylaw 3736/2020. The information is in the report. As you all note, the dates are there with the summer schedule for July, August, and September having the one meeting, as well as the December 4th meeting being identified as the warden's election. Also, additional information for council's benefit is the list of potential conferences for Roma, OGRA, OSM, FCM, and AMO. All those dates are up to date, as AMO just wrapped up and announced their dates. That was the last one we were waiting on, and their locations. If there's any questions, happy to take those now.
Questions of the report, comments? I just have one. I know the month of September, we changed it to one meeting a month. I know today is, we have an awful lot on our schedule. I'm just wondering if we should change September to say 2 meetings, and if we don't need that meeting, we can always cancel it. Would be a lot easier, because I'm thinking the meeting now in October is going to be heavy again, because we've had to delay some things that should have been here today. So I'm wondering what everyone else thinks of that. Do you want to leave it the way it is? Councillor Jankowski?
Through you, Warden Agates, I was having similar thoughts that typically we have 2 meetings in September, and sort of after perhaps a slower period in the summer, we pick up council business again in September, and I would like to see a second meeting also scheduled for September. And as you say, if we don't need it, the option's there to remove it if necessary.
Okay, anyone else? Do you want to make that a motion, or do you want, what do you want to do? Or we have-
If you're through you, Warden Agates, I'll make such a motion to amend the schedule to include a second meeting in September. I believe it's maybe 2 weeks from the meeting that we've got posted so far.
Okay, do we have a seconder for that? Councillor McDermott? Any more questions? Councillor Smith? Question?
Want us to comment, I guess. And it's probably not for now, but any thoughts perhaps on maybe making maybe one meeting a month in the evening if in the future, maybe for the next term, not this term of council, but perhaps the next term. We had some discussion. Do we have discussion at some point? I think something for the future may help bring on some folks that are not retired. I know I'm not retired, I'm still working, so I got to use some vacation time for the daytime meetings. Just a thought maybe for the future, if maybe the last year of our term, something, and maybe it won't go any farther. Maybe we will continue with the daytime meetings, but maybe even half a dozen or something throughout the year. Just some thoughts on that. I'm in favor of the schedule and adding the second meeting to September, but just some thoughts.
Okay, do you want to respond, Lori, to that?
Thank you. Through the warden, so the change, just so you know, the change in the schedule for September came back in 2019, and that was because we had an exceptional year for weather, and the business that the majority of council is involved with took us into September. So it was to accommodate that. Certainly we'll welcome the second meeting in September to be able to make that change to our procedure bylaw. So once a term, we do look at the procedure bylaw, which sets out the meeting schedule. And when we bring that forward, we'd be looking at council direction. If they do want to make any changes to the daytime schedule or evening, or even the day of the week. But it is rooted in your procedure bylaw, and we will be reviewing that once a term, at minimum. So it will be coming.
Okay, anything else? Want to read the motion that we have?
Absolutely. So through the warrant, that council receives the 2025 county council meeting schedule report, and that council approves the 2025 council meeting schedule as amended to include the second meeting on September 18th, 2025.
Okay,
So it's been seconded.
by Councillor Pinkowski and Councillor McDermott. All in favor? Carried. Okay, thanks, Tyler. We're going to move to corporate services update, and we have Annette with us this morning. Welcome, Annette.
Good morning, everybody. The report before you provides an update with respect to activities that took place in corporate services for the month of July. Just a few things to highlight. Our website is continues to be remediated to ensure that our content is compliant, and provincial reporting is scheduled to take place this month. Also, speaking about accessibility, Legislative Services presented 2 accessibility information sessions in August, hosting accessible meetings and events. Those were presented via Zoom, and we had 24 attendees, both from the county and staff from local levels as well. And the session provided an overview of guiding legislation as well as practical ways to increase accessibility for meetings and events. And a resource was circulated, a checklist, practical resource to assist with respect to planning future activities. Another quick highlight, Betty Jo Belton, our manager of archives, she represented Stratford Perth Archives at a meeting that was hosted by Huron County Cultural Services to determine a possible collaborative project related to celebrating the 200th anniversary of the Huron Tract and Crown Treaty number 29 in 2026-2027. So we will keep you posted as the potential for Perth County to in some way be involved in those celebrations, or for archives to assist with the preparation. It would be lovely to see that public involvement. And finally, one more quick update. We are pleased to say that Michelle Evashuk began working at the county July 15th as the assistant to the prosecutor. Ms. Evashuk has worked in a variety of roles, most recently as a paralegal at one of our neighboring municipalities. She holds a diploma in paralegal studies and has been practicing since 2009. And finally, the 76th annual Perth Municipal Day will be occurring November 20th, and Legislative Services staff is working closely with staff at Perth East, who will be hosting the event. Subject to any questions, that is my report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments of the report? Seeing none, we have a motion that council receives a 2025 county council meeting schedule report, and the council on the wrong one. Sorry, Tyler.
You're okay.
Okay, sorry. We motion that council receives the corporate services July 2020 report for information. Moved by Councillor Orr, second by Councillor McDermott. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Annette. Okay, we're going to move to activities update report from Stratford Perth Archives, and Betty Jo is joining us on the screen this morning. So welcome, Betty Jo, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Warden. Good morning, everyone. I'll just pause for a moment to make sure that I can be heard. Sometimes there's a bit of a lag.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. The report from the archives today is an activities update for council's information and to ask for approval of its submission to the MSSC meeting coming up in 2 weeks. I'd like to highlight just a few items for you. 2 summer students were hard at work here from May 6th to August 30th. And with their support, we were able to offer drop-in access to the archives on Saturdays during June, July, and August, as well as our usual Tuesday to Friday. Access is available by appointment from Monday to Saturday and by drop-in from Tuesday to Friday the rest of the year. The students also worked on the local newspaper digitization project that we started in 2022. The report includes a list of the Perth County newspapers that will be available on a free-to-use website as of September the 14th. This project is ongoing and more newspapers will be added each year. The students were also involved in the annual collections room cleaning and inspection. So around 10,000 boxes were cleaned and looked at from the outside for signs of any problems. So if they looked like they were wet or if there was mold growing on them. And of those, over 1,000 randomly chosen boxes were opened and checked more closely for any signs of problems, with one requiring a bit of follow-up as described in the report. Otherwise, archive staff are continuing with providing reference and research services, cataloging, digitizing local newspapers, and public outreach efforts, like working with community groups, talks at public libraries, and newspaper articles. So with that, I will thank you all for your time today, and through you, Warden Eggets, be happy to respond to any questions or comments that anyone may have.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments of the report? Seeing none, we have a motion that council receives the activities update report from the Stratford Perth Archives for MSSC, and that council approve the report for submission to the MSSC meeting of September 19, 2024. Moved by Councillor Duncan, second by Councillor McDermott. All those in favor? Carry. Thanks, Betty Jo. Enjoy the rest of your day. Okay, now we have POA Court Services Report, and we have Vicky joining us this morning. Welcome, Vicky, and the floor.
Good morning, Warden Eggets and members of council. This report is a brief update on activities at the Provincial Offences Court Services Office to the end of June 2024. Court services staff continue to work with the Regional Senior Justice of the Peace to secure extra blitz court days. Early resolution meetings and trials are being booked on a continuous basis. You will notice in the report that there is a steady increase in the number of court appearances as well as the pending caseload. I would like to point out in the report, you'll notice that the revenue is much higher, and that is because there are some large regulatory fines that were all collected between January and June of this year. The distribution of revenue is calculated based on actual fines paid and the location of each offense. Fine revenue is distributed between St. Mary's, Stratford, and Perth County based on the location of the offense, and then distributed to the lower tiers based on weighted assessment. That does conclude my report. Please let me know if there are any questions.
Okay, thanks, Vicky. Any questions or comments of the report? Seeing none, we have a motion that council receives the POA Court Services Report for MSSC, an operational update report for information, and that council approves the report for submission to the Municipal Shared Services Committee meeting of September 19, 2024. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, second by Deputy Warden Kellum. All those in favor? Carried. Vicky, enjoy the rest of your day. Okay, we're moving to paramedic services, and we have a replacement of commander vehicle. We have Mike and Christian with us this morning. And gentlemen, welcome.
Morning.
The floor is yours.
Good morning, council, and Warden and CIO. So on May 18th, 2024, a commander vehicle used by Perth County Paramedic Services was involved in an accident, resulting in the total loss of the vehicle, its fiberglass topper, and its associated retrofit equipment. The insurance claim payment for the loss was $46,322.10. This commander vehicle that was involved in the accident plays a crucial role in supporting coordinating emergency responses within Perth County. Its loss has impacted our ability to provide seamless service. To ensure uninterrupted operations, it is imperative to replace this vehicle as soon as possible. The replacement will be financed through the insurance and the vehicle reserve budget. Our current vehicle replacement cycle for this vehicle is structured at 6 years to for operational efficiency and to maintain reliable emergency response capabilities. The vehicle 1390 that was involved in the accident was scheduled to be replaced originally during the 2025 cycle. Staff recommend that council approve the early replacement of this vehicle through the County of Perth's request for tender process. So the financial implications of this are that the total loss compensation from the insurer totaled $46,322, as I stated. Their projected cost for the replacement of the command vehicle purchase retrofit certification is $175,000 plus applicable taxes. This leaves the total project cost at $128,677 plus applicable taxes. And as I stated, the purchase of this command vehicle will be funded through fleet reserve, the insurance payment. Through you, Warden, I would be happy to receive any questions or comments.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Councillor McKenzie?
This is probably a question you're not going to be able to answer, but do you know what we paid for that vehicle when it was complete with everything?
I don't have that answer. I can get that for you, absolutely.
Well, I know vehicles have gone up in price quite a bit, but when I look at, 46,000 is what we're allowed, and I realize it's 6 years old, but to replace that one is 175. That seems like quite a difference in spread, but I do know that vehicles have gone up a lot. It just seems like quite a spread.
Yes, just to help clarify, the vehicle itself, the amount that we receive from the total loss of the vehicle, exclusive of the retrofit that's required for lights and sirens and the top or any equipment, that payout for the vehicle was $24,095. The cost of the vehicle for sure has risen, as you stated, as we know, and unfortunately, so has the cost to retrofit that vehicle.
Okay, any other questions? If not, then we have a motion that council receive the report titled Replacement of Commander Vehicle 2024 and that staff be authorized to issue a purchase order during 2024 to replace one Commander vehicle, fiberglass topper, and associated retrofit equipment as a result of an accident classified as a total loss by the insurer, and that council authorize the funding of the vehicle to come from insurance proceeds and from the vehicle reserve. We have a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Councillor Duncan, second by Councillor Smith. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, and our next report is the Paramedic Services Municipal Shared Services mid-year update. Mike, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and through the warden, this report is before you, and I'll just provide a couple of highlights. And the first one is our call volume. Our forecast for the end of the year is an increase over last year, as it has been over the course since 2020, where we saw a slight decrease. But at the end of the year, we'll report back what the actual number was. This is just based on an average of what it's looked like so far to date. You'll also note that where was I going to go with this? You're going to note that what I wanted to highlight also was our equivalent 12-hour shifts in offload delay. You'll see that in Stratford, our hospital has been performing, if we project to the end of the year, we're forecasting based on, again, half a year, so things can change, but we're forecasting on the averages about 68 12-hour shifts that we spend in the hospital after 30 minutes. And so we're watching that very closely. And as you may have seen in the news recently, which occurred after I submitted this report, which is why it's not in here, but we are the recipients of $109,000 of offload delay funding. What that means is that we have an opportunity to work with the hospital, and they will be providing staff to help the turnaround times improve in the community of Stratford. And so we're real excited about that. We had a meeting with the hospital yesterday, and they're experiencing the same thing that we are in terms of just numbers of individuals going into the emergency department. We're also, and by no surprise, we're bringing people to the emergency department, seeing that 17% increase in call volume year over year. So they are also experiencing that, but this may help them and us to work together in order to turn the ambulances around a little bit quicker. Especially because if you think of like that particular hospital as well, there's only so much space to actually physically put our patients, right? And so if we can have that extra staff during sort of peak hours and times of pressure, that is good news to us, that we might be able to work with them and see where that program goes. And aside from that, in the report, talk a little bit about things such as our respiratory protection program, which you'll see addressed in 2025's budget. A little bit of an update on employee engagements and the work that we're doing there with our paramedic advisory committee, and looking towards the future in terms of some of the changes that might come through legislation in terms of medications that are available for us to provide patients. And if it's legislated, we'll let you know. If it's a requirement, and if it's optional, we'll bring it back to council before we make any kind of changes. But we're just thinking, you know, a couple of years down the road, and so I've included a couple of things there with respect to that. So through the word, I'm also happy to receive any questions, and over to you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments? No, we have all great reports this morning. Okay, we have a motion that council receives the paramedic services, municipal shared services, MSSC mid-year update 2024 report, and the council approves this report to be presented at the September 19 MSSC meeting. Moved by Councillor Trinkowski, second by Councillor Aitchison. All those in favor? Carried. Thanks, gentlemen. Enjoy the rest of your day. Okay, we're moving on now to Public Works. John, Bill, and Anna joining us. Morning and welcome. Report is the janitorial service contract.
Thank you, Warden Negetz, and good morning, Council. This report seeks Council's approval to extend our janitorial services contract for one additional year. GDI Services have performed janitorial services in our administrative areas of county-owned and leased facilities over the past 6 years. GDI have performed their services effectively and have been very cooperative and responsive to our cleaning requirements to our major capital projects at the courthouse campus, and more importantly, during the COVID pandemic. Later this year, county staff will be moving into the renovated space formerly known as 5 Huron. Staff are recommending that we extend the janitorial services contract with GDI for one additional year as we transition into the new office space. This would allow facilities staff to better develop the scope and frequency of our cleaning requirements over the entire courthouse campus. Following the one-year extension, staff would then tender the janitorial services through our bids and tenders platform. GDI are requesting a 3% CPI increase for the one-year extension period, and that proposed increase is reasonable in keeping with other contract increases staff have observed or dealt with recently. Currently, janitorial services costs at all county facilities are approximately $7,300 per month. With the 3% increase, those monthly costs would be $7,520 per month. And just to note that the overall janitorial services cost will increase once the newly renovated space is occupied. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of the report? No? Okay, we have a motion that council receives a janitorial services contract extension report, and that council approves a one-year extension to the janitorial services contract with GDI Integrated Facility Services, and that council authorize the warden and the clerk to execute the contract extension agreement between the County of Perth and GDI Integrated Facility Services. Moved by Deputy Warden Kellum, second by Councillor McKenzie. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, and the next report is tender results for 1-ton plow truck. Bill?
Thank you, Warden Negetz. Through the Warden, good morning, Council. This report from Public Works is in regards to the tender results for the supply and delivery of one triaxle plow truck. As Council will recall, authorizing staff to initiate the procurement of this new trowel truck asset at their last meeting. This is to replace existing asset 1406 from our current fleet. Following council's direction, staff issued a fleet tender 2024-033-03 for the supply and delivery of one plow truck complete with all winter maintenance equipment. The bid opportunity was posted on the county's online bidding platform. There were a total of 8 plan takers, which yielded 2 tender submissions. The tender results are tabled within the report, with the low bid submission received from Premier Truck Group of London in the amount of $467,320. That excludes HSD. The low bid received from Premier Truck meets all specifications sought through the tender document. The cab chassis that are offered through this bid is 2026 model year Freightliner. We have some similar little trucks in our current inventory. The winter maintenance equipment specified will be installed by Viking, and it again is specified to be consistent with our current fleet. Premier Truck is a reputable dealer who are experienced in supplying this type of cab and chassis and working with Viking through municipal tender processes. The county has in the past purchased fleet equipment through this vendor previously under the Team brand. We have experience with them, and they have provided acceptable municipal references. And the vendor has indicated that anticipated delivery for this asset to Viking would be in Q1 of 2025. From there, Viking needs approximately 6 months with the unit, so that would put us early Q4 in time for the 2025-26 winter maintenance season. The cost of the purchase will be included in the 2025 capital fleet budget. The unit has been projected for purchase in that year, and staff are recommending award of the bid. That concludes a summary of my report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments? It's scaring me what the cost of these trucks are. Wow. But I know we can't do anything about it, but. Okay, if not, we have a motion that council receives the tender results 2024-033-03 supply and deliver of one tri-axle plow truck report, and that council award tender 2024-033-03 to Premier Truck Group of London, and that council authorize the warden and the clerk to execute the agreement between the Corporation of the County of Perth and Premier Truck Group of London. We need a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Councillor Aitchison, second by Councillor Jankowski. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, we're going to move to council reports, and the first one is the 2025 Perth County Stewardship Program, and we have Hannah and Councillor Jankowski. I'm not sure which one you want to go first, but take it away.
Well, I'll start, and Hannah can fill in. Staff have put together a report on the stewardship program for next year, and I've had a look at it, being that I'm the chair of the agricultural working group. I'll read the recommendation first. The recommended action that the council receives the 2025 Perth County Stewardship Program report, and that council approves the 2025 Stewardship Program design, and that council increase the grant funds to $100,000 for 2025, and that council consider providing pre-budget approval for the 2025 Stewardship Program to facilitate the administration of the program. So what we found in the 2024 version, the public interest is very high, and the distribution of the projects was throughout the county, so all 4 lower tiers have expressed a strong interest in this program. What we learned through the agricultural working group is that timing is everything in terms of getting the information out to the property owners, and to get them to apply, and then to review those applications and get the responses back to the applicants in a timely fashion so that they can make the necessary orders for trees and whatnot. during the winter timeframe when the trees are made available through the different sources. So it behooves us to ask for pre-budget approval to assist with the timing of the entire process. And given the popularity of the program in the first round, and we had hinted at this when we started talking about the stewardship program, that we would amplify and increase the scope of the stewardship program as it developed over time. So that's the high level report in terms of the asks, the recommendations that are brought before this council. And I can say that every dollar that's invested in stewardship by a landowner reaps benefits for the future, not only for the landowner, but for the community as a whole. So it's money that's it's invested very well into the future. So I would encourage my colleagues to offer their support to these recommendations. And I'll turn over to Hannah if she has any further comments.
My only comments would be that the 2025 stewardship program is planned to launch with the grant guide in 3 weeks from now on October 1st and be open for applications November 1st. And I'm already receiving lots of calls and emails. I've received 3 just as we've been in this meeting today, asking questions about grant opportunities for private landowners and community groups. So I'm sure that this year's program is going to be even more popular than last. So speaking to Dean's points, just the importance of continuing to invest in our environment and in our community members who are engaged in stewardship.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions? Councillor McDermott?
Yeah, just a comment. I had never seen the possibility that only 50% of the trees survive to maturity. So I find that very discouraging that we're spending this money and the possibility that you're only going to possibly see 50% of them reach maturity. That's just concerning to me, that's all.
Through you, Warden. That 50% maturity is the industry standard for tree planting in southwestern Ontario. And the maturity of trees varies depending on the species, but most of them reach maturity around 60 years. So that is the industry standard that we're using as a basis, and it will still increase our canopy substantially. So if the trees that we planted last year reach maturity at 60 years from now, we will have increased the canopy by 44 acres, which I think is phenomenal.
Councillor Pankowski.
Through you, Warden, further to Councillor McDermott's concerns and Hannah's response. The way the program is set up is that there is funding from the county, but it's not 100% funding for a landowner's application. So what I'm trying to say is that the landowner does have a financial stake in the success of, I'll call it their own tree planting project. So there would be, because the landowner has to invest their money and their time, then they have, there's some reason for the landowner to make sure that the trees reach or approach 100% tree survival rate. And for the 2025 program, you'll note that in the report, there's more emphasis being placed on funding for the purchase of the trees and less emphasis on labor and in paying for labor and in-kind labor and that sort of thing. So to the point that we're putting the money towards buying the trees, it's up to the landowner to make sure that they're planted and cared for successfully so that they do survive. So to try and allay Councillor McDermott's concerns about the survivability, the landowner has a very large stake in the skin in the game as far as making sure that the trees do survive. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Kassenberg.
Thank you, Warden Eggetz. I have sort of
Just give it a second, you're hearing. All right, try
Thank you.
now.
Thank you, Warden Eggetts. You'd think we'd have learned this trick by now, right? I have two questions. First, a simple one. I had taken note that FCM had a tree planting initiative which closed for applications in July. Did Perth County submit an application under that program?
Through you, Warden, I've been very detailedly looking for grant opportunities to support our program, both from federal, provincial, and local levels, including the FCM grant. Unfortunately, our program is still pretty new and quite small, so a lot of the funding opportunities that are available have a minimum amount of trees that we can guarantee to plant. The minimum is around 40,000 trees. So hopefully, if all goes to my plan within the next year or two, we will meet that threshold and be able to benefit from the grant opportunities that exist. But with last year's funding opportunity reaping the planting of around 15,000 trees, that's still a little low, and I don't want to promise grant funders that we can plant 45 until our program is growing and proving successful, and that will occur through further investment in the stewardship program.
Okay, thank you. My second question, if I might, is a $25,000 increase in the program sufficient for the apparent demand? Should we be looking at more than that?
Councillor Tronkowski.
Through you, Warden Eggetts, to Councillor Kasenberg's question, this is a minimum. It's at council's pleasure and discretion if they wish to make it a higher amount, but this was the recommended minimum increase from 75,000 to 200,000 for 2025. It's up to council's pleasure if they wish to see a higher figure attached. Thank you.
If I might just follow up then, at this point then what we're doing is pre-approving a minimum of 100,000 as for the proposal anyway. And then for budget deliberations and consideration, we could move that number upwards. Am I understanding that correctly?
That's correct. It can be, my understanding is that it could be changed at budget time. We're going to, the motion that's before us, we're going to split it apart so that that can be looked at, and it'll go into the budget, and then we can look at it at budget time again. Okay. Councillor Smith, you had your hand up as well.
My question's been answered. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Anyone else with questions? No? Okay, so the first motion that we have is that council receives the 2025 Perth County Stewardship Program Report and that council approves the 2025 Stewardship Program design. You need a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Councillor Duncan, second by Councillor Tronkowski. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, the second motion would be that council receives the 2025 Perth County Stewardship Program Report and that council increase the grant funds to 100,000 for 2025. Need a mover and a seconder for that part. Moved by Councillor Duncan, second by Councillor Kassenberg. All those in favor? Carried. And then the third motion would read that council receives the 2025 Perth County Stewardship Program Report and that, no, Tyler, so many, no?
You can just do it as the same.
Okay, he says I can just do it one line here. Okay, so we'll scrap that. We'll do this one, that council consider providing pre-budget approval for the 2025 Stewardship Program to facilitate the administration of the program.
This one. In the debating.
Okay, so council,
Give it.
we're going to change the wording. So council give pre-budget approval for the 2025 program to facilitate the administration of the program. Okay? Everybody get that? Council gives the pre-budget approval? Are you moving that, Councilor Kasenberg? Okay, so moved by Councilor Kasenberg, second by Councilor Tronkowski. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, now we're going to move on to the warden activity report. Here's where I was for the month of August. Any questions where I was, what I did? Perth thought I didn't do anything in the month of August. I told them it pays up for the county, so. We have a motion that council receives the warden activity report, August 2024 report for information. Moved by Deputy Warden Kellum, second by Councillor McDermott. All in favor? Carried. Okay, then we have bylaw. We have that bylaw 3998-2024. You read it first, second, and third time and finally passed this 5th day of September 2024. Moved by Councillor McDermott, second by Councillor Mackenzie. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, do we have any notice of motions? Any other business? Councillor Mackenzie?
I don't want to dwell on it, but it really bugs me, the cost of these trucks. And I guess where I'm coming from, at one point in time, insurance, when you had insurance, it was replacement value if you had damage to it, and I think that's gone the way of the dodo bird. But I guess my question is, and I assume that John looks at the value of our trucks, and when it comes to time to insure them, that they are up to the maximum. Like I'm assuming the insurance company in this case, they just looked at book value and this is worth X number of dollars and wrote us a check. And I got to keep telling myself that the truck that was damaged was 6 or 7 years old and we're comparing it with a new one. It just seems like such a difference in price to replace that unit. I guess all I'm saying is, is the question, like, do we have our fleet insured to the maximum that what they're worth?
Who wants, Corey?
To Walter, to Councillor Mackenzie. We do supply our vehicle values to the insurer when we get our premiums. This vehicle, as you mentioned, we purchased it at $69,000, and now the value is $175,000. So that's an increase of 154%. Ambulances itself are over 100% increase as well. So yes, they base our values on the historical kind of cost that we had purchased originally to what we're insured for. So the difficulty is that these large increases in values of vehicles that we are seeing over the past few years, the insurance company itself is again based on the historical kind of value of those vehicles when we purchased them originally.
No, thanks. And the late Bob McTavish always said, you should never ask a question unless you already know the answer. So I knew what the answer was going to be, but thank you anyways. It's just hard to wrap your mind around the difference in the prices.
Well, it is like I said, that triax truck, that price, you could buy a farm at one time for what that truck costs, right? So I'm feeding myself here, but anyway.
Not by very much.
Okay, do we have any other business? Announcements? Oh, Councillor Kassenberg?
Yeah, if I might follow up on Councillor Mackenzie's comments, I'm curious, sort of along two angles, and perhaps staff can give us some insight into this. There's that phenomenon, of course, in insurance these days of replacement value. And I don't know whether we've considered trying to insure to replacement value, but that might actually become more prevalent and useful in the context of unforeseen accidents and so forth. So just an observation there. And secondly, if we're not doing that, then obviously we need to be considering in our asset management plans how we plan for rotation of capital like trucks and so forth, and their actual replacement values versus otherwise. So can I just, I know that's kind of a vague question, but there's a question or two in there. I wouldn't mind some feedback from staff on that.
Okay, Corey?
Through the word to Councilor Kasenberg. The budget that we do employ is we look at trying to put money aside for those replacement values. As was brought up in the 2024 budget, we're in that situation of trying to do that catch up to the increase of cost of vehicles to what we are trying to put away to essentially have money aside to replace those vehicles at end of life. So we're in that situation of that gap of the catch up to get us into a situation where money is set aside on replacement values, whether those replacement values are increasing at 10%, 15%, but we have to be able to smooth that out over a period of time. So we're in that period of smoothing out, of trying to increase those costs, those transfers to those costs to relate to those replacement values. But again, as you're aware, it's the level of increases of the vehicle costs over the past 7 years that we're trying to maintain through our asset management plan.
So if I might, as a supplementary, then you've identified the gap and you've identified that sort of gradual approach to try to bridge the gap. Are we somewhere in the middle of bridging that gap, or are we at the very earliest of stages? Like, financially, where are we sitting against that that gap? And I know that assumes, in fact, that we're trying to keep up with those increases, and poor staff are trying to sort of monitor and have knowledge of what each of those increases is looking like across the range of assets that we own. So, like, where are we? Are we well positioned? Are we really early in this cycle of trying to close the gap?
Through the word to Councilor Kasenberg, we're in essentially, like I said, 3 to 5 year time frame of closing that gap. You'll know when we get into budget again, you'll note within the services that utilize the fleet, the additional impacts that you'll see in the cost area of those particular services, the increases to a level that might range greater than 10%. So I gotta say, we're still early on, but a 5 year time frame to be able to close that gap.
My concern, obviously, Warden, is that that gap will increase again, and we'll never actually get it. So.
Yes, unfortunately, I think you're right, but I'm not sure, like, we can't predict what vehicles are gonna do or what things are gonna, who would have thought that a vehicle 6 years ago was what they say it was worth?
Commander vehicle, $70,000 7 years ago.
Yeah, and now it's
$175,000.
Yeah, like who'd have thought that it would have went up that much, $100,000 in 7 years, right? So I hear what you're saying, I'm not sure what we can do about it, but hopefully they don't go up too much higher. Councilor Jankowski?
Through you, Warden Agats, I'm getting the sense from Mr. Bridges that it would behoove the county not to take on too many additional responsibilities in terms of costs and expenses until we get situations such as this gap in the funding of equipment reserves. Like the market is changing faster than we can react in terms of covering ourselves monetarily and from an asset management plan. So we need to be cautious about what new expenses we take on in the future, I think is what I'm sensing here. So that's my observation.
Through the word to Councilor Trankowski's comments, it's one of the pressures in the area of providing service to the citizens outside of just the general repairs and maintenance type expenses that you will see within those services.
Okay, any other questions or comments on that? Anyone else have any other business they wish to bring up? Okay, announcements.
Just one here. I'm a little slow. I should have brought up my phone beforehand, but I just want to make note of main event happening in West Perth a week from this Saturday, breakfast on the farm, featuring West Perth Modern Dairy Barn. And I think it's a $5 breakfast. It goes from 9 to 1. Tickets are available at Farm Food Care. Dean, you're going to help me out again. Is it .on.org, I believe? You can go online. Just Google
Farm Care and you'll find it.
Yep, yeah. But certainly they're expecting a big crowd. And I think for urban people, it's a great opportunity to get out into the country and just see what farming is all about.
Okay, good. Okay, anything else? I do have one thing. Perth County has been nominated for an excellent award at the Canada Safety Public Sector Employment Dinner on October the 10th. So thank you to all the staff who make this possible, who work on this. We'll see how we do at the award ceremony. But just so everyone knows that we're heading to Toronto for that. Any other announcements? If not, then we are going to go into closed session. And it says that council move into closed session approximately 10:16 a.m. in accordance with section 239 of the Municipal Act to consider a matter pertaining to negotiations, CAO, a matter pertaining to identifiable individual, CAO, a matter pertaining to negotiations, Public Works, a matter pertaining to negotiations / identifiable individual, POA, a matter pertaining to negotiations, potential litigation / legal advice, planning, and a matter pertaining to potential litigation, legal advice / negotiations, CAO. So we need a mover and a seconder, moved by Councillor McDermott, second by Councillor Smith. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, we will take a 5-minute break.
Are you?
We do have a motion. I'll let Tyler read what it is.
Thank you. So through the warden, this is the Horizon report from closed session. The motion is as follows: that council confirms the appointment of Sean Beach to represent the county on the Thames-Sydenham Regional Source Protection Committee.
Okay, we need a Councillor Duncan and Councillor McDermott. All in favor? Carried. Okay, and then we have our confirmatory bylaw, that bylaw 3999-2024, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council of the corporation of the county of Perth at its regular meeting held September 5, 2024, is read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed September 5, 2024. Need a mover and a seconder for that, moved by Councillor Kassenberg, second by Councillor Aitchison. All in favor? Carried. And the last motion of the morning is that council be adjourned at 11:57 a.m. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, second by Councillor Smith. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.